So you did it 6 times?
Yeah, I hammered it 6 times. Let's change something.
So those of you that are watching, getting laid counts for as many hours of sleep as it's been in months since the last time you got laid. So like if it's been like, hypothetically 4 months since you got laid, if you got laid and you didn't really get any sleep, you did, because it was worth at least 4 hours to do that once. Now, if you get laid every day, like me, because I'm fun to have sex with, apparently, so she lets me do it. Yeah.
She lets
So
me.
then you get like, I don't know, it is as like, like every time it's like worth like, I don't know, 5 minutes of sleep, right? You know what I mean? 20 minutes, 20 minutes of sleep. If it's been a day,
6 hours.
yeah. It's 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes of sleep. If you get laid every day, so it's 2 minutes of sleep. And how many times have you taken a 2-minute power nap and been like, hey, I'm pretty good?
You only sleep 2 hours a night a day? Or
No.
minutes
I only sleep 2 minutes a day.
Oh, shit. No wonder. See how you get so much shit done. God damn.
I fucking wish. You know what, dude? But probably I'm usually good for 5 to 5.5 hours is all I really need. And I'm good. And I did that for years and years. But after I had COVID, I had a lot more days where I slept 7 or 8 hours. And then now more recently I've gone back to more like 6 or 6.5 hours.
Yeah.
So, but I had COVID real bad back in 21. That first year from SEMA, I had COVID for 3.5 weeks. I was fucked up.
Fucking A. Yeah, I'm like a 6 hour guy, I guess. 8's great, but not around 6. I'm good. Shit. What's going on over there in the Gateway shop?
We just brought this big Suburban we're working on. Customer kind of named it Stereotype, and his little slogan for it is money well spent. And it's an older Suburban, and we did 6 of the Relentless Neo 418s in that on 3 of the 15Ks, and 6th order. Similar style 6th order to like the Soulgasm. So it's really, really rowdy. It's a lot of fun. It's violent. It's real good. Yeah.
What kind of car is it in? It's old Suburban?
A Suburban. Yeah, an older Suburban from the late 90s, or it's like a 99 or a 2000. So it's the kind of
the square one.
Yeah. No, it's not a square body, but it's an OBS.
I see.
Yeah.
The round double I.
Yeah.
Nice.
But
got some videos?
Let me see here. Let's see if I can figure this out.
618s in a 6th order on 45K.
Yeah, pretty much. We're wired at 0.35 ohms on each amp, and it's got C-Max batteries, so we're at 16.8 volts.
So it's making a lot of power. What did you make it on the dyno at Steve's at like 16 whatever?
We tested at, I think, 16.2 or 16.4, and at a half ohm, it made 17,100 and something watts.
So another half a volt. Yeah.
Yeah. She rowdy.
It's a lot of power.
It's not an OBS. It's an 01 to 06. But I thought it was a 99. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm kind of stupid. But yeah.
Hey. Hang on, I'll be right back. I gotta put this phone on my dock. Scratching his eye.
Okay.
Hey, you don't get to go.
There we are. Sorry, everybody. Oh boy. Oh no. What is going on here? All right. Anyway.
That was scary.
Sorry, everybody. Trying to get this video. I don't know what I'm doing. I need an adult. There we go. Much better. Okay, now. Oh dear. Okay, there we go. Put that over there, like that. Here. Oh, this one. What I'm doing. I can't stop it. Okay. All right. Hold on a sec, everybody. Here. Share screen. Go.
Okay.
Here.
Shit.
All right. Here we go. Here we go.
Nah, you ain't gonna.
I don't have any videos of the inside or anything just yet, but I just did the first air trade we did. Can you guys hear the audio?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can see how it ejects. It's ejecting air really well. I like that you did the full Gately port on the front. It looks like, right?
Yeah, I did the big Gately port on the front. He asked for that.
Shit.
I was like, "Have you ever been in one of these before?" She's like, "Yeah," and 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 then I'm like, "Okay," and then I fired it up, and then she hadn't even looked back at the woofers at all. She's like, "Just got in and closed the door." And she's just sitting there, and I'm all, "Okay." So yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
So we're trying to build the lattice single.
Well,
fourth order. If you're just going for numbers.
if you're just going for numbers, but if you're looking for overall bandwidth, a sixth order will be louder, lower. So you'll have more, but the peak will be definitely better with a fourth. But if you're, I've seen fourths play into the low 20s well, but never quite as good as a sixth. And then if you start talking about the teens, then you have to be in a sixth. I've never seen a fourth go into the teens really well. Like I've seen guys be like, oh, yeah, I can play it a little bit, and it's pretty damn good. I'd be like, God damn, that's really good for a fourth playing 18, 19 hertz. But in my experience, it's always been a sixth that played into those ultra lows.
I think if you want a fourth to play low, you have to have a lot more depth. The subs have to be a lot further back. So
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. So you have more wave propagation, like it develops better.
Yeah, I think that's the main. I think it's one of the reasons why fourth orders just don't. Well, most people that build fourths just stuff a lot of subs in as much space as possible.
Have you heard any of my sixth order builds, Lethal?
I agree with him personally. I think fourths sound better, but nowadays the difference isn't as minuscule. I think a fourth plays better in the middle and maybe a little better on the high, but not much because the sixth has two peaks. But the sixth, like Bobby said, you want to go low, subsonic 20s, below 20. It's got to be a sixth. Like to actually move,
play it with authority and just really be a mega wind monster. And a lot
unless you have a ton of cone area, you could kind of get away with it. But
still, if you had that ton of cone area and it was a sixth, then even better.
Even better.
But everything comes down to testing, So
this guy, dude, you got it backwards.
Yeah.
If you want to build like a super peaky SPL box, you're going to build a fourth order.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not that fourths can't have bandwidth. Mine's a fourth. I have tons of bandwidth. My bandwidth is like 23 to 60. If I changed it to a six, it'd probably be like
16.
18, 16.
17.
Fucking,
yeah.
Yeah. But
I don't think there's room
quite
vertically to make a really nice, because you're going to want like a 30 two 36-inch long, maybe even as much as 40-inch long port in the back. And then we have to shrink the front port down a little bit.
Can it be like L-shaped inside the box?
Absolutely. Like in this build, the port like starts at the bottom of the back of the box, and it goes like 6 inches, and then it goes all the way up the back, and then it comes like 6 inches at the top. Like if you were looking at the side of the truck.
Okay.
It is a big C shape because it's like 34.5 inches long total length, and the tuning on that is 2244.
Yeah, I don't have much height, like we talked about already.
Yeah, that is the biggest limitation there. We'd have to like find a way to like flay out the bottom and the top of it so it gives the correct area. It'd be kind of wild looking.
Or I mean, if we could do more in the bottom, it could be an L or whatever going towards the front. You know, if you need more.
Oh, right. Well, we can't really be in front of the subs because then it would cause loading issues. So we have to stay cool.
What if it's in between the two back ones? Is that going to matter?
It should be okay as long as we're not blocking them at all. We don't want to cause a loading issue on them.
Yeah, almost like I'd be better off with 6 of them, 6 subs.
Then you'd be way better off with 9 of them in a fourth.
Okay. Yeah.
It'd be fun to play with though. We're like, and we just put like, this is what we can do most reasonably, and let's see what it does. And like, you're like, sometimes like if let's say that port just is pretty close to the top and pretty close to the bottom, then it creates its own extension of itself at the top and the bottom. A good example is one of the boxes I built, and I've talked about it on the show before. I built a box for Lucky McGovern for 3/18s, and it had a big Gately Shield stacked port, right? And the material I built the box out of was like extra thick. It was like almost a true 1 inch, which normally it's like 15/16 of an inch thick, right? Typically. And there was like 24 pieces to make this port that was supposed to be like 22.5 inches long. Well, I didn't, and this is before I was super accurately tracking the thickness of the material that we were working with as we were building it. And it was one of the handful of things that made me need to track that shit, right? So I built this massive stack port, and I was like, put the whole box together and glued it all together. And, you know, and I was like, all right, it's going to be this long because of this. Now, not only was the port like 1.5 inches longer than I planned it, it got so close to the back wall that it coupled with the back wall. And that effectively made the port like 7 inches longer than I wanted it to be. And so instead of my tuning being like 33 hertz, it ended up being 28.5 hertz or 28.5 hertz. When we actually tested it, I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, why would it be like that? And it was just, you know, we were kind of trying to make ends of it. And I was like, I fucking know why. It was because I made the port a little longer than it was supposed to be, which made it couple with the back wall of the box, effectively lengthening it, right? So you learn, you know. I mean, it was a monster. It sounded great, but we were like shooting for numbers with that thing, and he probably lost a dB at peak because it was effectively tuned so low. You know, because he was, you know, it was a Tahoe, so it resonated at 46 hertz or whatever the fuck it is. And,
what kind of? It was just like a box on the back.
Yep, it was just an O-wall box in the back. It did like a 56.5, and then later he had a guy in Southern California build him like kind of like a burp specific box that was much smaller, and it had octo ports, and it was sprayed with bedliner in and out. It was pretty badass, but like it wouldn't play below like fucking 35 hertz. Like you couldn't play music out of it, but it did a like a 59.4. It was like, boom, that thing is getting it with 3/18s in the back of that Tahoe. So numbers wise, it was fantastic, and it could play music pretty well, but it didn't. But it was a fucking badass box. When I saw that he had it built and I was in there, I was like, shit, I learned from this. This is fucking cool. Somebody wants me to build him a bird box, I'm gonna go more in this direction for them with something like this. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at it real quick.
Okay.
Hold on one sec. I'm gonna take a peek at something. I got Sean to save the day over here for me.
So I'm going to show you 2 key points to it. So carbon fiber will arc.
I know.
I know that's not. So like, you make sure you get a lot
The
of
boys.
it. Really hard to say.
I know.
But I
And a
said,
fourth get windy. Yeah,
you sure that that's your point?
definitely a fourth can get windy. It kind of comes down to your subs, and it comes down to your sealed section,
Yeah.
tuning, all that good shit.
Wires extra.
But like I was saying before,
I don't solder.
the easiest way to get windy is to be able to develop the wave. The longer your vehicle is, the further back your subs are, the lower you're going to be able to play. It just is what it is. That's like physics. If you want to play lows, just get a big ass fucking vehicle. Put your shit in the back. Get a fourth, sixth, quarter box. Don't give a shit. Maybe not a quarter. Well, a quarter box, I guess, if you tune a low now.
I'll just that a little bit. Okay.
So
What the fuck was I going to say to you? Don't remember. Oh, do you think a 3100 size battery, which would be like an FT 1100 full throttle,
Okay.
is enough to power all
No.
my mid and high amps?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Because it took out since I don't have a bunch of shit in my car anymore, no AC, none of that shit, and I took the limitless battery out that was puffed out, and I was like, fuck, dude, I can't fit anything in here. The only thing I can fit in here is a battery like this size. And we're just looking around. My buddy's like, well, you don't have AC, you don't have this, you don't have that. I was like, you don't need that, you don't need this, you know that. So now I have all kinds of room under my hood. Where it was just
Do
like
you have some kind of what voltage are you operating the vehicle at?
the big battery, the Warpath battery. I'm trying to get it up as high as possible,
Uh-huh.
but I obviously
Where are
can't.
you at currently? Because of the JL.
15.6.
Okay, so if we were to get you you have two alternators?
I
And is
have,
one of them running low voltage and one running high voltage? What are you doing? How is that working?
I have a stock one that runs the car
I
in the
see.
12 volt side, and then I have two of them that run the Warpath battery, basically.
Okay, so I would. So the stock one is going to run your little full throttle battery and your mids and highs amps and the JL and the vehicle.
Yeah.
And you have one alternator to feed that.
Yeah, I think the FT 1100 is 140 amp hour. Let me see.
Yeah, you're fine. That's going to be all fine. If you got a whole ass alternator to run it, you're fucking good. Like, so let's say hypothetically you have 4,000 watts of, I'm just guesstimating. I'm not doing any real math. Okay.
Yeah.
If you have 4,000 watts, but everything you're playing on all the highs and mids is all above like 80 hertz, you're going to draw like 20 to 25% of the current as you would with 4,000 watts on subwoofers. Right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
like it's insignificant and not anything that I would even be concerned with. Right. I would run it and you would look at it. Right. So boom, bam, done. You're good. So then you should crank up your voltage to like 16.4 on your Warpath battery. And not only will everything run, do your kicker amps get mad at higher voltage or no?
If Drew did some testing for me a little while back, I believe they go to 16.3 in non-comp mode, then they're fine. And then in comp mode, they could go up to, I believe, 17. But even if I could get to the 16.2 mark or something like that.
Yeah, 16.2, 16.4. I mean, I don't know what if they're in comp mode, is that bad?
No, it's just you can't. Let's see, what was the difference when they were in comp mode? So the inputs are all locked at 4 volts. I have to go over the amps again. There's a couple of things it does. It doesn't make much of a difference. I think the gains don't do anything when they're in comp mode. I think they're basically all locked at 4 volts, and you feed them 4 volts, and then I could be wrong though. I have to ask the guys. But comp mode does a few different things. It takes away some of the, not really like the protection as far as like over and under voltage and clipping, but I think some limiting factors and stuff, which is voltage input and other things. I know the pots get locked when it's in comp mode, so nothing works basically. It basically makes the amp into a dumb amp. It's like an input and output.
Sounds like it's just almost like what an amp is when you switch it into slave mode.
Kind of, but it's not. But they're not strappable or whatever. So maybe it's could be
Yeah.
something like that.
It's very similar. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure it has some differences, but probably very similar. So yeah, I would crank up that warpath. Now that warpath at like 15.5 versus being at like 16.2 or 3, it's gonna have a shitload more amp hours in it. So you're gonna hold voltage even better, and your amps are gonna make a little more and a little cleaner power, and everything's gonna be happier. Really, subs will be cooler and louder. Amps will be louder and warmer, and the battery will be happier. So, but you haven't had any voltage issues of any kind at all, right?
No, I'll demo the whole time until the limiting factor right now is getting the subs too hot.
Yeah, I mean that really kind of should be the case because
It's a lot of
because
power.
we're feeding these things so much power, right? Like I mean, so if you had it to where you couldn't get the subs hot fast, then you know that you left 3 or 5 dBs on the table of peak output. And
Yeah.
then most people don't want a demo that's 3 dBs off of what it can do for the most part. Now there's the time and place for that, right? Like at SEMA, if we had the ability to sit and play and demo and people are getting in and demo, it's like, dude, 80% of what this thing can do. You can be 3 or 5 dBs off of its peak. And all of these people, they're going to have their minds blown, never seen anything like it. You're not going to get hot. It's not going to be smelly. It's not going to be scary. If you were to blow up subs with giving somebody a demo that's never had a demo before, it would terrify them and they'd be afraid of it and it wouldn't make them interested in it. You know what I mean? Like if we're at an event and I'm Bobby Gately and you're Steve Barber and you and I go walking over and we're giving away, we're wearing fucking Deadliest Demo fucking shirts and like somebody's like, get in, and they're standing there, they look a little bit nervous while they're cranking up the fucking thing. Jerry Eastman knows how it feels. You get like, oh, I'm getting a different kind of demo from these guys. and something destroys itself in the build, like when is it Michael Powell and they had the little and John Nauman's little Blazer, and they fucking were giving me the demo. There's like 5 guys holding the passenger door, and I'm in there cringing, and chunks of cone fly by me and bounce off the windshield, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, there's sparks flying, and they're like, yeah, bro, and I'm like, okay, that was fucking cool. But if you did that to some random person at a car show or SEMA or something, that wouldn't be that cool. They don't want that shit. So it's hard when you get us car audio guys that are used to being like, we're at the showdown, and I'm like, oops, I broke a sub, son of a bitch. And the guys are like, well, thanks for giving it everything it had. It was fucking badass. And I'm like, we'll put another one in and come see me later, and we're all we're fixing shit, you know.
Yeah.
So then, but if you're at a car show and you get, your little family walks by and like somebody's wife agrees to do a hair trick and you hit her with a 65 with at 45 hertz and she's like, oh, and you're like, oh, I would have been better if I did that at a 55.
Yeah.
Or maybe at 19 hertz or something like that, right? You know what I mean? And that way it's just like, holy shit, that's awesome,
Dude, the SEMA Fest thing was so much fun. I wish we could do that again. I reached out already to the one guy and no response. So I'll reach out to the other dude again and see if he gets back. But I had a lot of fun doing that.
I have a different demo. Okay.
Demoing for randoms.
Best friend.
Okay.
And buy this stuff.
I already have some.
Same stuff?
I do. I think so. It's in the box.
Okay.
The box.
I'm gonna leave it just in case.
Okay. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, kid. Okay. So, but yeah, SEMA was a lot of fun.
SEMA was fun, but
we did our
I had more
2-minute
fun at
window.
I had more fun at SEMA Fest, to be honest.
Yeah. As long as the amps hold. Like, my amps hold. Fucking this is our amp repair guy. He's fucking awesome, and he never asked to repair Gately amps unless I like break them on purpose myself in testing, and that's like almost all of the amps that he's ever had to repair for Gately. So it'd be like that sometimes.
Yep.
But and like at SEMA, right? I'm sitting there and I'm giving demos, and I got like a line of people, right? And I'm trying to we got like it's supposed to be 10 minutes, but we're pushing like 13 almost every time, right? And we're giving demos, and I'm doing demos in the Raiden, and Allie's like in the Bloodbath, or we're doing the Soulgasm, and all of us, for the most part, are operating these vehicles between like 85 and 90% potential, and we're giving everybody like a minute, and it's like, thanks. They give, here's a lanyard and a sticker, and they jump out, and the next person, come on. We're trying to hustle them in, right? Because we're trying to hit, I got like 12 or 13 minutes, and I'm trying to get, 12 or 15, 45 to 1 minute, like real quick demos, right? Because we only have a minute, right? We only have that little period of time. But every once in a while, like somebody hops in, and it's like choke change jumps in. So I'm like, okay, you get it all, but you only get 45 seconds. And I'm just like, and it's like fucking good. And then every once in a while, another person gets in, and they're like, hey, there was the guy that had the baseball hat on. Can you play it like you played it for him? And I'll be like, yeah. Okay, you can have that too. And I'm like, just don't be like scared. I just don't want to, every once in a while you frighten somebody, and then we didn't want to do that, right? Yeah. But yeah, and at like SEMA, people are like walking up, and they're like, this is the look. They're like looking at the fuck. They're watching. They're like, what in the fuck? What the fuck is that? Speakers? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, what are they? And I'll be like, well, there's 12 gigantics. This is Soulgasm, and it has. And they're like, why? And I'm like, well, look at the crowd of people. And they're like, what do you mean? They're all smiling and giggling. That's why we did this. Get in. And they're like, I can get in. Like, everybody can get in. You're the fucking. And then they're like, I'm kind of scared. I'd be like, here's the bass knob. You turn it up as much as you want. And they're like, I think that's super fun. When you have a vehicle that's like solid enough, and you have it dialed in a way, and you're like, you give yourself whatever the fuck you want of that, and it can really give it all of it. You know what I mean? You're like,
that's why I'd really like to do it again this year, because now I have so much more experience with playing the Explorer that it would be way more fun. And
maybe they'll have us back. They were doing so much construction at SEMA last year that was why they didn't have room for us. So I feel like now that they've done a lot of that and got all that shit together, that if they want SEMA to be big again, right? Because that's part of what they're trying to do is fill some space, and maybe maybe they'll have us come back. So, and what I think John does, what he does is John tries to build his build in a way that just fucking chooches along, and he doesn't have to worry about shit. There was a period of time when he built the Blazer where the Blazer would be like, he'd be like driving the bass knob through the song. Like he knew what note was coming, and he knew he had to but then he made little fine tune adjustments, and pretty soon he'd be like, you should go play it. And I'd be like, okay, what do you want me to do? He's like, the volume at 29, and just play whatever the fuck is on the thing, and just turn it all the way up, and just try not to make the subs too hot.
Yeah.
I get in, and I'm like watching the fucking temp sensor on the fucking dash, and I'm all, turn it down, let him cool off, let the next person, I'm like, this is easy. You know what I mean? And but I definitely remember being at Nyman's, and I'm in there, and he's like staring at the bass knob, and it's like listening to the song, and he's like, turn it down a little bit, turn it back up, turn it down, turn back as the bass line's going, because it needed a little bit of attention. Then eventually he got to the point where it was like, and we did that with the Guillotine. That was actually how I fucked up some of the subs in the Guillotine at the Showdown. Was we were equalizing the subs, and so we were playing different songs and checking, and I was watching where I was getting clip light, and I'd be like, okay, this song has that frequency in that track, let's pull that frequency down a little bit so I don't see clipping. And so we were equalizing based on clip light at max volume in the Gilly, and we got it to where it was fucking badass. But when we were doing that, we had boosted up the bass real high so that we didn't have to turn the volume level as high to be able to get it to do clipping, and so that the highs weren't fucking killing us, so we could kind of understand each other while we were doing it. And then it was like, all right, cool, that's awesome, done. And then we just shut the truck down. And then I got there to the Showdown a couple of days later, and I hopped in and I turned it on, and I started giving people demos, and I was like, head unit goes to this level. And I was 5 clicks up on the sub. And I was like, damn, man, I'm clipping like a motherfucker with the nice cold subs. Pretty soon the voltmeter says low, and fucking I make smoke out of some of the subs. And I'm like, they're 5 coils. They smoke a little bit. It's all right. But no, I totally took out a sub and fucked up another one. And I'm like, and then I was like, oh, I did. Oh my God, I did that. And I was like, I knew better than to do that. It was like, I'm like, I don't know. Like,
why'd you turn the sub
it was like Biden.
on the deck? What? Why'd you turn the volume up on the deck on the sub volume?
On the sub output? Because when we were doing that level test, I wanted to be able to give it a little more to see it level off. And so that the highs weren't so incredibly loud that I couldn't reasonably communicate with Tyson while him and I were making the adjustments.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was done.
So then
I didn't bother to fix
only did it for tuning the mids and highs.
No, I was doing it. No, I did it for the subs, not the mids and highs.
I know, but the only reason you did it was
essentially. But I also wanted to be able to, if I gave it another click in the level, I could see clipping easier across everything.
Yeah.
While I played certain songs, so I could pull it back, and then it was stupid. I mean, sometimes I'm fucking dumb.
So you want to talk about testing? What kind of testing are we talking about?
Well, I just the testing of everything is really what it comes down to. From as simple as so we just got a huge order of subwoofers. Literally every model we make, plus a whole bunch of new ones. So like the Shield series 6.5 and 8-inch. The 6.5, the first batch of them we only got those in dual 3s because I kind of expect that they would most often be used in a group of 6 with somebody wanting to run, inexpensive and relatively low power. And I thought they might often use a Brazilian style full bridge amplifier like a Trinity or a SoundCube one. That's one of those. And so we went with only dual 3s, and they sold pretty well. And we went through enough of them that I was like, you know what? The Shield 6.5s is a thing. Let's do those also in dual 2s and dual 4s. So those are 2 new models that we have that we're going to do some testing on. And then the Alpha series 6.5 and 8, we added dual 3s to those because it's been a big hit to use 2 dual 3s wired parallel to 0.75 ohms on a Korean style half bridge amplifier to get some extra power out of the amplifier. And that's been really awesome. And so we did that a bunch with the Shield 8s because we had done that with them. And so now also with the Relentless 6.5 and 8, we have them in dual 3s. And so we have all of those to test, and we want to test everything all again. So we're going to pull DATs. Also, the new DATs system has become available. So, and this is all John Nolte is going to be doing all this testing for us. So he's got the new DATs coming. We're going to also test with the old DATs, and he's setting up a testing room to take all of this information. So we also have a new Shield series 12-inch sub, and obviously the Alpha series 12, and then the new Alpha series 15. Those are all available in dual 1, 2, and 3. And we got to test all of those, and we got to collect all new data on everything for this whole entire load of subwoofers that we got. I'm also going to have him do some testing on what I believe is going to be the like production-ish version of the Relentless Neo 12, 15, and 18. So we've figured out pretty confident what spider pack we're going to go, okay, this is the normal version of it. And we have ideas on what to do with what we want to do. If somebody wants, a specific, we're going to use it in a 4th order, or we're going to use it in a 6th order. We're going to put them in a big box. We're going to put them in a little box. So if somebody wants us to build a custom sub, but otherwise, like like, John Raby wants to stock a couple of each, 12, 15, 18 of the Relentless Neo 4 woofers. And I wanted to make sure that I went, okay, this is the appropriate, we're going to take this thing and we're going to stick it in a ported box, and it's going to perform really well, and it'll work well in most anything else. Also, if somebody's like, I just want to buy one of the ones off the shelf because I want to get it right now. And if somebody reaches out to me and says, hey, I want to run these woofers, this is my application, I can set up the soft parts and coil stuff based on what they're doing with them. You know what I mean? But so we're going to have John collect all the fucking DATs, old version, the regular DATs, and with the new version of DATs, so that we have all of that information. And then we're gonna take every single fucking sub, and we're gonna put them in boxes, and we're gonna fucking test them. It's a fucking lot. And we're gonna have, and one of the things that I'm probably gonna do is like, I thought about maybe giving away some of the test boxes and subs that we've collected some data with, maybe here on the show, maybe use them as things that I give away at events, like for raffle stuff. And then some of them may end up like in the garage sale section of my website, that is like, oh, that's a fucking Alpha 12 in a 1.75 box. It was broken in, the DATs were pulled off of it, and then it was, tested in, Bobby's van or the truck or something like that, with X amount of amplifier, this many hours, and you have your full warranty on it, and and here it is at a reasonable discount, 15 or 25% off as much. You know what I mean? So that's, but the more we test and the more we learn about our boxes and our woofers, right? Like the Alpha 12 version 2, that one was pretty straightforward. When we put the parameters that we pulled off of it into box design software, it looked really good in as small as 1.5 and as big as 2.0. It even looked pretty good at 2.25, but I actually didn't believe that it performed as well as it did in 2.0, was most efficient, and 1.75 was best overall if you had a little extra power for it, and that seemed obvious. Whereas like our Relentless 6.5 was probably the most challenging woofer to figure out what it worked well in, because in box design software, it looked like it wanted a big ass box. And when I put it in a big ass box, it fucking worked great. But when I put it in a smaller box, it worked better. And when I put it in even a smaller box, it worked even better. And it just kept getting fucking better as we shrunk that motherfucker down to like 0.3 per woofer. Steve, you still with me, bud? You're a big blur.
Am I frozen?
Yeah, you're kind of frozen. You're kind of blurry and frozen.
Oh,
You look like early 90s porn.
My internet connection looks like it's one dot instead.
Yeah, and you turn into a robot too.
Hell yeah.
Fucking robot porn, bro.
I'm still here though.
So anyway, you're still all blurry and fucked up. I don't know what you want to do. I'm going to answer Jeremy here's question. Well, if you're running on the Bose amp in the truck, I would just leave it alone. So if you're changing it out, you can put damn near anything that's a pretty high quality speaker. But I would recommend making a pretty big upgrade, right? Like you can't just buy just some general $89 coaxes and think that it's going to perform better, right? So, and I don't know what year you're talking about, but if you're running off of the stock head unit or stock factory amp or something, I'd almost leave it alone unless the speakers are blown. And that's a tough one. I don't have a standard install base, so I don't have guys pulling in and we're like, oh, we're just going to swap these speakers and see how it does. I would say maybe if you have a pretty good high end shop that's local to you and you go, hey, have you ever done this? I have this model truck. Jeremy, it looks like you got a really nice F-150 in your picture.
What year is it?
Yeah, what are we talking about?
It's a 2023. That's the same I have. So I have a 23 with the Bose system. I think it sounds good. I wouldn't even, but also again, it's a daily. I don't really care if it sounds, doesn't have to be loud or anything. I don't know. I think it sounds good. Good enough for me.
My
Oh,
boss
his
blew him
boss
in his
blew him
2020.
in his
Well,
2020.
God, that's like hard to do. You have to kind of try to do that a little bit.
Yeah, how did he do that?
Yeah. I'm like, hey. I wonder if people, like, some companies make, like, you can buy the direct replacement speakers for a BMW from some of these companies. I wonder if somebody does that for like the Chevy trucks like that. You know what I mean?
I'm sure there's a lot of Bose replacements OEMs.
Yeah, those. Yeah, and maybe they're designed for that application. And you know what I mean? You buy a little set. It's like, oh, it's fucking $289 or some shit like that. And like I said, yeah, but here's the thing: is I get the idea, Stephen, that he probably wants. Yeah, see, you're talking about let's put a DSP and amplify and all that. Yeah, absolutely, do that shit 100%. But if you're talking about let's just pull these blown speakers out and replace them with something, the likelihood that something else performs better than those speakers in there is pretty low. You know what I mean?
Yeah, unless
But,
you redesign the whole system, pretty much.
Right, unless you redesign the whole fucking system. So.
Yeah, I mean they do a lot. They spend a lot of money on developing that audio system in that truck. So,
Jeremy, that's a really good looking truck, man. I don't know if you've seen what my truck looks like, but it's a gray F-150. It's pretty fucking sick. But that's a good looking truck. Just from that little tiny picture on my screen, I'm like, that shit looks tight, bro. and I want to hear your audio system. You got a hell of a list of gear in there. Yeah, if you do the wet sock delete in that, fucking, oh my god, that's so funny. That's still funny. It'll never not be funny to me. Like fucking gullible ass. What's the wet sock delete?
yeah. Yeah. See, I'm not cultured, dude. I don't know pop culture, dude.
Shit. So yeah, testing and we've done a little bit of testing with a really cool John Nolte 212 double shot box for our Gately Audio Relentless. It's kind of V1.5, so it's kind of like a we made, because we had some triple joint connection issues with some of the V1 Relentless 12s because they didn't have any triple joint retaining rings. So we made triple joint retaining rings that we can add on after the sub is built. It's kind of a challenge. Colt's the only one that does it, is he's good at it. When we 3D print these fucking badass parts and they get assembled inside, and then we glue them on, and the next day we flip it over and we glue the other side. Looks good, works really, really well. And John Nolte double shot boxes, we did one in that Dodge Magnum, and we did them in a Kia. I think it's a Kia. I hope it's a Kia. Anyway, and with incredible performance, and they sound fucking beautiful and tons of output and super impressive low bass extension. But it's these boxes perform extremely well. They're kind of big and they're very dimensionally specific. So they can't be a little narrower or a little wider, and you can't make them less deep or tall. They are very, very specific. But it just so happened that in both of the vehicles that we put them in, the Magnum and that Kia, they fit extremely well. And and we're like doing a little bit of like pretty goddamn good hair tricks with a 212 box out of the trunk of a fucking car with these things. Like pretty fucking bitching. And they sound really smooth and they perform really well. It's fucking outstanding. And John has been developing these boxes for 20 some odd years, and I've helped him with it off and on for years and years and years. And we built a few here and there, but
what do these boxes look like again? Refresh my memory.
I mean, it kind of looks like a double 12 box with a big port on the side if you're just looking at it. But it's a little extra deep. It looks like a real big fucking box. It's not huge, but it's pretty fucking big. But it's got a lot of fucking port going on inside. It's all foldy all over the fucking place. And it very, very specific compression and expansion points throughout the enclosure. And the smoother and the more accurate and flowy you can make these things. So we make all these bitchin' 3D printed parts that clip into place inside to make this thing have a really excellent smooth area for the air to agitate as smoothly as possible inside. And those two that we built recently are fucking outstanding. And I have two more sold that we're gonna do, and and we intend to make them a production unit that people can purchase. And then we're going to do it with 6.5s and 8s. We actually have a design that John and I started the other day to see if it will work with 15s, because there's a little bit of an issue with how, hey, my wifey's watching all the way from Japan. My wife is in Japan right now.
Oh shit.
I miss her so. But she gets back in a few days on our anniversary, which is the 1st of April. So, yep. So we're gonna try to do a 215 double shot, see how it works. We're gonna build it. We're gonna put it in Eddie's car. We're actually gonna put 2 Relentless Neo 415s in there, and that should be really wild. And how did you find a hibiscus fucking thing? Okay, fancy. Love you, baby.
Houses?
Ship a car back. Yeah. I need a right-hand drive fucking, what is it? R23 or 32?
Skyline.
Yeah. Skyline me, baby. Come on.
Yeah.
Bring me back a silver Skyline with like a bunch of cherry blossom flower paint job airbrushed on it. Memphis is doing army shit. He was going to try to get on with us even though he's in the middle of it, but he didn't have signal. So we're going to have, Memphis back next week. And next week we will have a show. We're going to make Memphis a permanent fixture to the Quietly Loud show. And we're going to have Memphis tell his story, like take us back to, maybe his first experiences that brought him into car audio, and maybe some of his experiences that made him into a fabricator and a builder, and some of what makes him who he is, all gigantic and muscly and fucking funny.
Yeah.
He's a cool dude. I like that dude a lot. So, but yeah, so that's what we'll do next week, and then we wanted to have somebody maybe from the TDH show on or something at some point in the next few weeks. Is that?
Well, the show is I think it's next weekend. So
maybe we should have him on right before his show if he's available, and then we do Memphis the week after, or maybe we have him after the show to talk about the show. Whatever makes the most sense. Maybe we ask him what he thinks, and we'll adjust the show around him. And sure, he's a busy dude if he's trying to put on a show, because I'm not even putting on the show, and I'm busy as hell with the show, and Allison is like busy with the show.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Nick and see if he wants to jump on next week, and then if not, then we'll do the Memphis thing.
Yeah, cool. And then we'll probably have John on maybe right after the Gately show or something like that. In the weeks following the Gately show. So probably in May at some point we'll have John on again. So, but yeah. Well, I don't actually have a production 10, even though I have tooled baskets and I have 100 of our 10-inch baskets here. I think I'm gonna just build 10-inch subs for the people. But man, a free air 10 is probably pretty good for like an SQ like thing. But I feel like I'd rather a sealed. I think you'll have more output with a sealed single 10. Overall, I think I'd be asking a lot of output from a free air 10. I feel like if I'm doing a free air, I'm thinking minimum 215s or 218s or something like that, so that I can have that actual output. But I've definitely heard Barnaby. I think he had 210s in with a really cool acrylic baffle assembly for his like SQ setup. His car. It sounded fucking good. It was really good. I mean, it didn't have a shitload of output, but it fucking definitely sounded fucking beautiful for his SQ application. I wasn't mad at it at all. I just know that I like my shit to be real fucking loud. So, but if you're not looking, yeah.
If you do
Oh,
an
you're
IB
right.
setup,
Yeah, dude. That now all of a sudden the function makes a ton of sense, Barrett. That's yes. Room for tools? Fucking do that shit. Send it. Yeah.
if you do an IB setup in a trunk, can you technically just use the trunk? Is the
As
as
like it's
long
the
as you
box.
as long as
That's
you
kind of
separate the waves?
it was slant board, man. That was and like there was another guy in Milpitas that had a ton of beat and like some of his buddies were like, bro, he's got 218s and he had these 218s in a slant board thing and he kind of rebuilt the upper part of his back seat. It was all carpet and shit. But in it, you could hear him coming from way further than you could hear me coming. Like it was fucking crazy. But then in it, it wasn't that fucking loud. You know what I mean? It was pretty fucking loud, but it wasn't as loud as my 412s in a ported box that I had in the back of my car. But that was but it definitely worked. It was like a Duster. It was like a Plymouth Duster.
Yeah.
It was the 90s. You have to get a break. But it was pretty cool. It was a banger. Both of us got like all of our shit from the flea market.
Nice. I think I bought an amp or two from the flea market. Good old days.
Fucking A.
Right.
Yeah. So and then continuing on with testing, right? You test the shit, you test the subs, you pull the DATs, right? You collect all of that. You take the subs, you put them in fucking boxes, right? And if let's say you're a manufacturer, you should have a real professional enclosure designer that'll get your design done for you, and you build the box and you put the sub in the box and you test it and you collect data off of it, like what Getty used to do for me all the time, where you are finding out what kind of bandwidth it has at peak power and output, and you document all that shit and you figure out based on what that's looking like. And let's say hypothetically you don't know what it looks like, right? You go, okay, it looked like this. It really was kind of tanked at 28 hertz and it was awesome and it sounded really great and it rolled off down at 70 and it looked pretty good. And you're like, I don't know which way I would want to go to make this perform better. And you go, okay, well, I'm just gonna take the sub out of the box and I'm gonna stick a fucking a quarter of a cubic foot of blocks inside of it. I'm gonna shrink the volume of the box a little bit, throw the sub back in, and I'm gonna test it again. And you go, holy shit, it gained. It got a little bit peakier, but it gained a lot of output. And you're like, okay, well then your fucking box was kind of too big, right? And you go, okay, I'm gonna adjust this port, add some port length, because if you shrink the inside of the box, you have to lengthen your port to keep your tune frequency as low as you want it to be. So you're okay, cool. And you like add a little fucking port to the outside of your test box or something, right? Or you build a new one, right? And then you get like, and maybe you're listening to it and you're like, fuck, man, okay, I'm making a little bit of port mock. Okay, so my port needs to be bigger for sure. If I'm fucking having port velocity issues, if you're hearing, so the most of the time port chuff is either you have like something really fucked up in your port, which let's hope you didn't build a box with shitty fucking edges and notches and chunks of shit, which mind you, I've done that. I've been like, the wood split all fucky right there for some reason, and now there's something making noise. It's whistling or huffing or chuffing when it shouldn't be in the port. Shit happens, but you adjust the port. You make sure that it's not fucked up, and then you make the port a little bigger. Well, if you make the port a little bigger, you got to make it longer too to get that tune frequency back into an appropriate range. Now, another thing I get is I get a guy to lie. They're like, it's got to be 32 hertz, and it's like, no, it does not. It like you don't have to be tuned to 32 to be able to play 32. You can be tuned at 36 or 38 and still play 32. You might even play 28 still, as long as you have enough port area to not cause port mock issues, right? And where is it loading? You're loading into the door. That might help you a whole bunch, right? Or it'll make your door panel rattle horrifically and sound like shit. So you might change that too. These are all the different things about testing all the way. And are you testing the box? Are you testing the sub? Or you're testing what you're recommending to your customers for the subwoofers? So when somebody's like, hey, I want the DATs for your sub. I'm going to build a box. And I'm like, whatever WinISD or Basebox Pro is going to tell you to build for my Relentless 6.5, fucking don't. Like, I'll tell you what to build because I did that shit. I did it a long fucking time ago. And it wanted, like, if you have a 6.5 inch sub and it says it needs 0.7 to 0.8 cubic feet per sub. Okay, fucking don't use that sub. Put a fucking 8 there, and find an 8 that wants to work in that, because it's going to work fucking better than that 6.5, unless it's a fucking turd, you know. And you have to find, you know, maybe if you're lucky, you might be buying a product from a company that actually tests their product themselves at all, and not just to, oh god, WinSD is never even gonna fucking come close to being able to make something incredibly accurate. It is a half decent start at best. So, and like, if you have nothing else to go off of, right? Or if you like tinkering with it, go ahead, go in there and do that shit. But more than anything else, most of us box design people are working off of our experience with the builds we've already done. So there's like, it's a little bit like fucking cheating, right? You know, like there's guys who are like, this is my test box and it's got a big fucking tube sticking out and I can slide it like this and I can tape it, and you're like, okay, that's like kind of cool. But I have a stack of boxes over there in every quarter of a foot increment I want, and the ability to shrink or reduce the ports on them in any way I want to. So I'd be a fucking idiot if I didn't just take whatever fucking box I wanted over there and stick a sub in it and test it. And let's say I don't make a box that's that size or that port information for a specific sub. I can easily modify one to be that, whether I have to build it new or I make some components that attach to it. Oh, it's a speaker adapter, and it also syncs the woofer into it, gobbling up some of the box volume. Or I want to lengthen this port, so I'm going to make this little attachment that fastens on the outside to lengthen my port.
How about that test box that
that shit was kind of cool, and I got
it made. That was pretty cool.
It was kind of cool.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool if you don't have a stack of boxes, but not many people do, right? Obviously, but
you could technically, I guess the cool thing about that is that he could do it all on the fly, but you technically could just make a box.
Never.
Huh?
He's asking if I don't, but because I don't need to use it now, because I have a whole bunch of working knowledge, and I try really hard to stay away from companies that don't have any working knowledge of their product, right? If I call a company's tech support and I say, hey, I got your sub here, and I don't see any DATs, and the DATs look kind of funny, or like I just pulled DATs and they don't fucking resemble what your fucking online information says at all, or you don't have any recommended box information and they don't have anything for me. What happened here? What is this?
I took his comment away. It was, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I think it's some sort of bot or some bullshit, something that has nothing to do with
it was like a cooking show or something like that.
Something. I don't want women to do, or I don't want men to do anything for me. Just women to cook and build stuff. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh yeah, so weird shit. Huh? Okay, well, fuck them. Yeah.
Later.
So yeah, it's like you know, if you call JL or Kicker or Gately Audio or DD or, you know, Mint or FI, and you say, hey, I bought your sub and I want to build a box for it, they'll be like, what do you need to know? I will help you engineer your whole ass box. You know, if you're running Gately subwoofers, I will talk you through, I will engineer a whole fucking box for you free of charge, because the better you use my subwoofers, the more you're going to love it, and the more the people that hear it and experience are going to love it, and the more product I'm going to sell. I'd be a fucking idiot not to provide that for you. It blows my mind when people run products that, like, you contact the manufacturer and they're like, yeah, I don't have nothing. Like, you're like, have you ever built a box for those woofers? No. Like, they're like, oh, well, that's fucking weird. Like, I don't even understand. Or you got a woofer sitting here and you can't really find any data on it, and like you pull DATs and you contact the manufacturer and you're like, hey, I can't find any information or shit. I have DATs on your sub that look really funny. Your sub's kind of weird. And they're like, oh yeah, I don't know. Like, hey, do you have any idea what kind of box you got recommended ported enclosure? Yeah, I would say just try to make it really big. Now I'm talking directly about the company named Orion, and I'm like, it was like, I'm like, I'm all, make it big. Like, what are we talking about? Like, what do you mean make it big? Like, you didn't even say, it wasn't like, hey, the recommended is between like 1.5 and 2.5. Make it big. Make it 2.5. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be better there. If you got the room for it, make it big. But it'll work pretty good down to 1.5. Do they have any specs at all? Like, I've literally, like, I had an Orion HCCA here. They had DATs. They looked away. We pulled DATs. Not the same. Like, not even fucking close. Broken in? No. And there was no way that they started out as what they were. It was like, no, that's the pre-broken in. It was like, and neither of them really made any sense. It wasn't like, wow, I'm glad it looked like that. Like, it was shit. So, and they have no recommended information at all. It was really disappointing. This is a really cool looking sub with a gigantic motor and stout looking build, and it didn't perform well at all. Like, and then massive audio, that was a very interesting sequence with the subs. You can actually see them in the back behind me underneath that 21-inch basket back there in the red. There's still 3 of those massive subwoofers left over, and they had recommended specs, but they didn't really make any sense. And they said that the sub was that's like intended for SPL burp, and I'm like, dude, this thing's FS is 27 hertz. You have a bottomless designed motor, and like you're telling me that I should tune at 40 hertz and not play below 45 hertz. Literally what this man told me on the phone. And I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense, man. And I actually met the owner of Massive Audio at Knowledge Fest, and I explained, I was like, this is the conversation I had with your guy. And my customer even called, and he followed up with the same explanation about the woofer. And I explained the flaw where it was a
spiders are too close together, right?
Yeah, so it had spiders and that are progressives like these, right? And they were so close together, they were only separated by about 8 millimeters. And so when the sub starts flexing with a progressive, the inside ones are going to flex more than the outside ones. Where a linear is, I mean, it's still gonna kind of slope as it goes, right? But a progressive is going to do that more. And so the upper would bind into the lower spider. That's what those OAT, and it was making a fucking racket. I thought I broke the wood paneling on the roof of my van. I thought I broke the box. I was like, did my box break? I was like, what in the fuck? It broke free from the floor. Oh, the box is jumping, and it broke the wooden floor in the van free from the floor. Because that's like factory, like water resistant, like MDF floor that's like just fastened down with a handle. I was like, oh, it must have broken. It's just smashing the floor. Because it was chooching pretty good. Like the sub actually, DATs looked pretty fucking good. It's very powerful. It was taking power pretty well for a 3-inch coil woofer. Beautiful looking coil, big, fat, stout, flat wound. And a lot of it's really nice. But this issue was fucking horrific. And they could have been like, oh, fuck, we'll address that. Tell me what we need to do. We'll build recones for you. And I'm like, dude, you could just simply, triple the size of that spacer. Give me 12 millimeters or 15 millimeters of spacer, and you'll be good to go. You can just build me drop-ins. I'll fucking install them. Customer will pay me a couple bucks. we'll be good to go. No, they weren't interested in any of that. They were like, we'll give you a really good deal on these different motors these different subs we just got. And he was like, what? Like, it wasn't even like, we'll trade them out. It was like, we'll sell you more. And it was like, and even after I met with the owner, and he's like, I want to make it right. I'll sell you these woofers for $900 each. And it was like, what the fuck, man? It was like, and I did meet the owner, and I explained just like I explained to you guys every detail. I went over, I was showing him a sub, and I was describing. He was picking up what I was putting down. He's definitely not a dummy, but like, he was just like, I'm just gonna take this L and fuck it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
They're probably never gonna fuck with me ever again anyway. But the opportunity really kind of came and went when the guy was like, "Oh no, that's an SPL burp sub, and it's not intended, and you should only be playing over 45 hertz with that." And then he was like telling me that my box is all wrong. And I'm like, for sure not wrong, for sure real good. Like yep. But anyway, so testing is important, and companies that do a lot of testing. Now, also testing with like relevance, right? I had like a kind of a frustrating conversation with a few friends of mine, right? They designed this 4.8 box that was this fucking horn loaded Paraflex fucking whatever the fuck thing. And it was fucking relatively large, and it looked fucking cool. And they fired this thing up, and it was pretty fucking loud. It was like, that's pretty cool. And they're like, man, it's amazing. It's so loud. I'm like, compared to what? Like, okay, I hear it. It's pretty loud. I'm not disappointed with its output, but I'm not blown away by it in any special way that makes me think it's extraordinary. It looks extraordinarily difficult to build, and it's cool looking, and it was very specific to certain dimensions that didn't fit well in the vehicle it was in. And I was like, what if you just built a ported box that fit really well in this space that was a lot easier to build? How would that compare to this? What if it was almost as good, except it fit real good? What if it actually kicked the shit out of this thing? Because this thing has a relatively short bandwidth, because that's what I noticed with those. And they don't have incredible low bass extension by any means, even compared to a ported box. But some of them do. They make the big giant ones play low as a motherfucker, like Ben's car. So, and they were like, what do you mean? They kept on, what are you meaning? And I'm like, that thing's cool. I agree it's cool. But if it's to be as like mind-blowing and impressive, show me how it compares to a regular 4.8 ported box. That's what I'd like to know, because I feel like a lot went into this thing that may have been a little extra for no reason other than the novelty of it's that type of box, right? And so often people are like, bro, this thing's insane. Now, I'm not going to come at you guys and say, look at this Nolte double shot. Look how fucking incredible it is, without saying, here's the reference. Here's the reference is a well-built double 12 box built for the same woofers. And here's how much better the double shot does than it. And here is all of the positives of why the double shot, and here are the negatives, right? Comparatively to the similar regular old ported box, and that's where we have to test the shit out of everything, and everything has to have a reference of what is awesome or not. And then you have to make sure that what you're tracking is accurate. If I test the double shot in one car, I very well can't test it in a different car. I can't even test it in the same car with a different amp. I have to be on the same fucking amp. And I might even have to like accurately track what the voltage is doing while I'm doing all of my testing, right? You ever like when Getty and I were testing our enclosures, we had to track amp temp, sub temp, and the temperature outside, and we had to watch what the voltage was doing. Like a fucking amplifier, like let's say you're like, okay, I did a burp at 25 hertz, and you bring up the bass knob until it's like, you're getting a little bit of clip light and you're getting the peak, and you're like, okay, I measured that dB. Now, whatever that dB is fucking irrelevant. We're finding out what the bandwidth is and how much we have, and we're going to compare that to a reference or several references, which this becomes also part of that reference. So if we go, here's our, Getty did some testing with like the Alpha version 1 and the Relentless version 1 subwoofers in his vehicle. And we have that data, but we had to make sure that, Getty's car was, we were like, all right, look, your data when you were like above 14, because we can't keep it there very well, is a little bit invalid. We have to kind of get into some testing and keep you right around 13. And as long as you're above 12.9 and below 13.3, where your car seems to want to stay once we start testing, you need to stay in that. And if you go below 12.9, you got to let the fucking batteries come up and give the sub an opportunity. And so we would do the test sequence. We would start, depending on the size of the woofer and the box and how well it would produce sound, 20 or 25 cycles. And we wouldn't go 25, 26, 27, 20, because it would like be hyper abusive to the woofer and amp and alternator and battery. So we'd go 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 70, right? And then we'd go 26, 31, 36, 41. And that way it was a relatively balanced distribution of sub getting hot, amp working its ass off, battery getting pulled down, alternator getting hot, like, because different frequencies are going to load up certain parts of the audio system differently. And we would try to keep all of that data, and we would try to not, like, if you start and it's like 8 o'clock in the morning, it's still a little misty and dark and cold, and all of a sudden it's 11:30 in the afternoon and it's fucking California, and it goes from fucking 39 degrees to fucking 74 degrees in 2.5, 3 fucking hours. It's like, well, how accurate is this fucking data now, right? So shit we needed to track when we were doing this, and that's the kind of stuff that we were finding. And why, like, and I don't give a fuck. Anybody testing anything and collecting any data, fucking do that shit. Collect it all. Just don't, but not putting everything on that information, especially if you don't have a reference to compare things to, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I got to get going. If you want to keep going, more than welcome. But I have some shit I have to get.
I will stay on a little bit if anybody has any questions, but I got a fucking subwoofer to finish building, and then I am gonna go to bed because I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I don't have to wake up that early, but I've got a bunch of shit to do since I've basically just got home and jumped right on here from work. So my dog fucked his eye up, so I have a bunch of shit I gotta put in his eye, and he's wearing a cone, and I gotta feed him, and it's a whole process now. Good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, shit. Well, have a good night. Good luck with your puppy. I hope everything's okay. And I will see you soon. Everybody, remember to tune in next week. Anybody that's planning to go to the Gately show, you should get registered. It's a good idea. GatelyAudio.com. Do the thing. I'll be on just a little bit longer answering some questions, and then I'll probably wrap it up.
Cool.
All right, Steve. Have a good night, bud.
Later, guys.
Later. All right, kids. Colt, what the fuck are you talking about? What did I break? I be fucking shit up. It's kind of my superpower. I am planning to go to surf this year. I'm not 100% that'll be at at surf, but I'm like 98% sure. So I get up at 4:30 in the morning to get my ass to work, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays I go to a 6 a.m. yoga class, which seems to help my arms a whole bunch because they are all fucked up. No, I did not break the Suburban. It's fucking badass. I actually took 3 clicks out of the subs because when I was playing cleaner music rather than the YouTube shit that you were fucking with, it really came to life, and we were getting a little quicker voltage drop. So I pulled like 3 clicks out of that thing, but it's still super fucking nasty. It's a lot of fun. It did not break the Suburban. So, but yeah, so tomorrow morning I'll get up at about 4:30, get my shit together, and go to a yoga class. And then I come back here and my van is already loaded up with like 40 some odd sub boxes. And we're chooching up the hill to Sky High to deliver boxes and pick up all of those subwoofers that I described earlier, because our shipment arrived last week. And that's really exciting. And I'm going to bring them all to my man, John Nolte, that dude right there with his wild ass purple beard. And yeah, I have definitely done some ice baths, especially after training. It's pretty good, but kind of a pussy about it. I got to really man myself up for the ice bath, man. It's fucking hard. I'm a little bitch, man. I do really hot baths and I do the sauna, but yeah. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I would rather, instead of nutserts, I would probably make I would either use just like fender washers inside the box with the through bolts, or you'd make like what's called a splate, which is shit that we're doing on like almost everything we're working on. Imagine this is just a flat piece of metal, right? It isn't a fucking ruler thing, right? Okay. And it has a hole through it, and you weld a nut to it, and it has like some screw points, right? And you bolt that on the inside of the enclosure, and then from the top side with like a big badass fender washer, or maybe even a top side piece of metal that you're sandwiching around that rear deck. And make sure you spread those bolts out as wide as you can so that you're actually using the box to reinforce the rear tray. Because sometimes you be flexing shit and you get this fucking big thing, oil can, and the whole box is jumping around. It's kind of a nightmare. You might even use a whole bunch of adhesive. So, yeah. So, yeah. But I like that. Definitely done something like that. Me and Colt built a really cool enclosure for a customer that had to put a ton of shit in his trunk all the time. So we had this super pancakey 4-inch thick fucking box with a shallow JL in it. And we kind of cut the rear metal of it, but it was the factory rear deck that had like a little 8-inch sub. We cut it open a little bigger. It stayed under that rear deck, and we tucked that thing up as high as we could. And it pounded pretty good. It was pretty awesome for, I would have preferred to do more, bring that thing all the way up and seal the whole trunk off all badass, but it would have been very expensive to do all of that. So we kept it a little bit simpler. So I think you're right. I think that would be way better. And I would probably use a pretty cool fucking shallow mount, really low power. My favorite, like the Trulies, are really bitching, but they're incredibly expensive. But like almost just as good and a little more reliable at this point, because the Trulies are still under development a little bit, would be the JL, the TW3 10-inch and 12-inch. I think I like the 10-inch more than the 12-inch. I don't really like the TW5. I've never heard an application of those where I was like, yeah, those sound great. But I have heard the 10-inch TW3s where I was like, man, those sound fucking real good. And they're making, so I've heard the TW5s have some pretty good output, but they didn't sound fantastic. Yeah. So, but the TW3 is great. I think they're good. The 10-inch especially. So, my mids are pretty fucking beefy, man. They're real good. They get down. I mean, I wouldn't use them as subwoofers, but me and John have some ideas of fucking around. So TW4? You meant 3, right? Oh, yes, he did mean 3. There it is. 3. Well, what's TW4? Wet sock delete. Nah. Yeah. So my birthday was fucking great. I'm 50 now. I swear to God, I can feel it. I swear to God, I feel older and everything hurts more. Fuck it. I don't know. Yeah. Spiders. I'm building subs and shit. But yeah, spiders. I did a little explanation of spider fucking poor quality failure of the massive audio woofers that we experienced. So yeah. Yep. Okay. All right, kids. Any more questions before I get the fuck out of here? I gotta go. I gotta go try to talk myself into a fucking cold bath because somebody said so. Now it's in my brain, and I should do it. Probably help my fucked up elbow. I have like torn shit in my elbow, and it's all inflamed again from nothing. I don't even know. Fucking not that cool. All right. So I literally have new subs in every category. I have Shield 12s that are a brand new product. We have a Shield 15 that's an Alpha 15 that's a brand new product. And then the Relentless Neo 4s I'll do in 12, 15, and 18. And then I am going to make some handmade welded baskets as per request of our friends at Not Standard Audio. And so we're going to make some really cool baskets that can accept a high excursion motor and appropriate size spider packs to handle an ultra high excursion woofer. And so we may do some of them in a 21 because we can. So yeah, but lots of new shit, a lot of fun. We'll have tons of data, and then I'm gonna do what I tried to do before and have like an enclosure designer design a bunch of different boxes for all of my different subs. So I'll probably have Hunter do that for us. And then we'll actually build everything that he recommends for us, and we'll do some testing against some of the other stuff, because why the fuck not collect a whole bunch more data on all the shit that we already do so that we can provide an even better service to our customers. So that's what we do. But yeah. Yep. He did. I did. When we were on our way back from Glamis, we went to the Grand Canyon, and as in our process of that, we visited the Dixon store, and we bought all of our employees Dixon shirts. And yeah, they don't give any discounts at the Dixon store, so we spent an inappropriate amount of money. So I'm not sure which one this is, but I don't know. I like this one a lot. I have one that's the green. I have a red. So anyway, the Gately Audio Show. Somebody asked about it a little while ago. The Gately Audio Show is May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at the Autorama in Sacramento. So at Cal Expo in Sacramento, May 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and it should be an amazing event. And if you go to gatelyaudio.com and you click the page for the Gately Show, you can see all that shit. You can see all the event information, and it'll be a really good time. You should come out. Well, thank you so much, Barrick. I appreciate you, man. Fucking try real hard, man. I sure do. And yep, you can pre-register, Colt. I really like the idea of bouncing your ideas off of people that also do what you do, right? There was a lot of times that I used Drew as a resource. There was sometimes that he was super helpful. Sometimes he wasn't as resourceful of a contact as I'd liked him to have been. A little dismissive about some of the information. But Hunter has been fabulous over the last few weeks. I've sent him some messages. I tell him I'm happy to pay for his services. He's like, dude, you're real easy for me. I look at what you do, and I'd say I'd do this a little different. I do that a little different. Sometimes he's like, that shit looks fucking titties. Build that. And it's been really nice. And he explains himself really well. So, yeah. So I'm probably going to do a little partner thing with Hunter to help us with some of the enclosure design stuff for literally every woofer that we make, including all the brand new ones, so that I have a nice baseline. And I will be sure to double check all the engineering that he provides and build the shit out of them and test all of that shit. So yeah, that's what's up. All right, kids. I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna go feed my kitty cats and wash my ass. Not at the same time because that's weird. But yeah, everybody, go fix your engine noise and be nice to people that are nice and be mean to people that are mean. Be mean to those people that deserve you to be mean to them. That's important. That's kind of what I'm thinking. It's where I'm at these days. Fuck those people that need to get roasted occasionally. All right, kids, have a great night. Thank you so much.